Welcome to another part of the podcast Baby Loss. Today I'm talking to Katie. Katie and I have both two stillborn children. She has a son and a daughter, and I have two stillborn sons and a miscarriage daughter. So we don't want to talk about all the stuff, what happens, but we just want to talk about today how it is to live with stillborn babies. Hi, Katie. Thank you very much for joining this conversation.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Could you please introduce yourself?
So I'm Katie and I'm the mother to Evia and Noah, my angels, and Zachary and Amelia, my children on earth.
Hey, do you really feel mom of 4 children?
I do, absolutely. I feel all four of my children around me at all times.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it is different because if children are alive, people see it. They make memories with them. They see them grow up. But stillborn babies are with you, but they are not visible. How do you cope with that in your daily life?
I think it's difficult with around me. I think people are scared to mention babies that have passed. I think people avoid the situation, which can be very disheartening because as a mother to 4 children, you do want to speak about your children. You want to speak about who they could be today. You want to speak about how they've impacted your life, So there's so many, but every part of your day, there'll be something that relates to your children on earth, your children in heaven. And
Exactly.
I think a lot of people, they're scared to mention things. So they take that opportunity away from you to be able to speak. But later on down the line and after, healing in certain ways, being able to have them light-hearted conversation and just bringing your children into every part of your day. Luckily, I have that within my family and friends, which for me has been probably the hugest part of my grieving process and what's allowed me to be where I am, because I've been able to be so open about my children. And I think everybody deserves that, and every child deserves to be spoken about like that.
Yeah, but does it? But if people ask me, just to have some thinking and so, how Tom would be 19 now, and people say, oh, would he like be on soccer, volleyball, hockey? Just only to mention that also opens my heart, because then that means people are still aware that they are my children.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Just hearing their name. I think hearing your child's name in whatever, whether it's a small comment, whether it's a conversation, just hearing your child's name. Us as mums, that's what keeps us going, keeping our baby's memory alive, keeping their names mentioned. So you're right. It means the world to hear that.
Yeah, and but what does it make that people feel such a big step to talk about our children? You have two, I have two. No, I have 3 children. I don't have children to look after, so I'm an empty mom, but I really feel like a mom. And it opens my heart and it gives so much relief if people say, oh, you're the mom of Jasmine, Tom, and Tim. And then, yes, I am. So it gives a smile on my face and it lightens up my day. But imagine that people don't talk about your children. That is very hard.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, it's the taboo of child loss.
Yeah.
I think where our conversation like this, it's not often you hear a conversation like this.
No.
So we know as grieving mums, because we've reached out to other grieving mums, we've had these conversations. But if somebody hasn't been in our situation, they haven't, heard conversations like this. They haven't looked in forums like we have or heard other people's stories. So I think for somebody looking in, you just assume that experience is based on sadness.
Yeah.
And I think people are scared to, bring up the babies' names in case we burst out crying in the middle of the street and it's from a dark place, because I think people don't realize that we can move forward in life with our babies beside us, with their memory strong, and we can make our lives centered around them without it being about the pain that we went through at the time of loss. And I think the more people hear that, the more people will realize they are able to, find out where we're at now with our babies' memories and talk about our babies now.
exactly. And we also understand that the first months, maybe years, are very hard, and the grief is so intense and so immense. But as soon as people stop talking about your children, actually they die for the second time.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. And
I
people
think.
don't realize that that really is even more painful than already losing your child.
Mhm. I think the grief process is learning how to step back into the world that doesn't unfortunately stop for us. It's learning how to step back into that world whilst carrying our baby's memory. And
Yeah,
that is that's our only journey that we have as mothers who are grieving.
exactly. Yeah,
And yeah, that's how we want to take the babies with us. We want to keep that with us. And I think people need to be more aware of that.
yeah. But also crosses my mind very often. For instance, I'm in a big city, no, London or Amsterdam or wherever in the world, and somebody is asking me, "Do you have children?" And I have a bad day, and I start to cry. What does it matter if you show your tears?
Mm.
Is
I,
it?
no, it doesn't. But sadly, I mean, it's the person on the receiving end who's asked the question who finds that situation worse than you as the mother.
Yeah,
To to cry and express your tears or your emotions or your feelings about your child on that day shouldn't impact the person who's asking the question. But unfortunately,
it does.
people center themselves so that it does. Yeah.
Yeah,
But again, I think it's down to taboo because in that situation, they don't know how to then comfort you or address you because they don't know how, they don't know enough to know how to make that situation better. Whereas we know we don't want anybody to make the situation better. We just want you to hear our child's name, hear us speak, let us be heard, and, let our babies' names be heard. But people want to fix and they can't, so they avoid at all costs.
yeah, and they don't realize that just they can't fix it, so they don't talk about it.
Hmm.
That really does hurt, and
Mm,
yeah, well, it's the other way around. They if they people start thinking, it's better if we mention the names Noah, Evia, and Tom and Tim and Jasmine. If the names are mentioned more often, it really gives us some relief and it lightens up our day instead of the other way around, ignoring them and just neglecting everything that happened.
absolutely. Absolutely. And I think even with friends and family, I know that like I said earlier, I've been very lucky that my friends and family have been very supportive and they speak of Evie and Noah the same way I do and as their nephew and their niece. Or my friendship group has a lot of children. All the children involve Evie and Noah. We go on their birthdays and we celebrate them. They make cards and that is why I am where I am because
Yeah,
I'm able to express my love and express my needs at the time. If I'm having a sad day, my friends just sit with me. They don't try to fix it because, we all have been on the journey together because we've all been so open.
yeah,
And it really does, whether you are in a dark place or you want to speak of happy memories or happy images or future visions, you have to be open to be able to be in that place. And unfortunately, some people do deprive us from having that.
but well, actually, what we had in our chemistry chat is
Mhm.
that actually we want our lives to be normal, that what
Yeah.
happened to us is normal, but
Mhm.
of course we are aware it isn't normal what happened to us. And I really, my life is normal with my three-star children, but I realize that's not really normal. But because I live like it is normal, well, for me everything is normal. I would really have an error in my mind if one of the boys is coming into my house and, oh my God, is not possible. But they
Mm.
are around me always. Do you understand what I mean? Do you
Absolutely.
get it? Yeah,
Yeah, no, I feel the exact same. I think, it's our story, it's our family, and our family is two angels and two on earth. That's
yeah,
that's who we are,
exactly.
and that's our family. And I mean, I'm not sure whether accepting's a strong word. I think now I am accepting of what we have because of how I've been able to, process it and how I now look at look at our situation. And I do look at it as a beautiful thing. But like I said earlier, it takes a very, very, very long time, and it takes very raw
Yeah.
steps and emotions and feelings to be able to be in a place where you can, see a butterfly and smile at your babies for the morning.
Yeah.
It does take a long time to get there, but it does if you're open minded and honest with yourself and honest to other people who are supporting you.
Yeah. I also, Tom and Tim and also Jasmine have also taught me a lot to not to take everything for granted. It's just
Mhm.
they are my master teachers. They have taught me so much that really not to take everything for just it happens. Everything happens with a reason, and I have to had to go through this to do what I do now. I wrote my book. I
Yes.
even I it's an audio book in Dutch, but also in English. Because if it just has happened this, well, the you cannot concentrate. So I thought, well, people have to listen. That's easier. So I did it in English, and it's amazing how people are reacting because my story, but they also recognize a lot of my whole process in their own stories, and it's the same for you. You've written the book, and people are really feeling, oh, I've done. Oh yes, that's I did the same. Oh, I really feel it, and that kind
Absolutely.
of stuff. Yeah,
Yeah, and it's because we've taken the same path. We've decided to walk with our children beside us,
yeah,
and this is where it leads you to. It leads you to being open with yourself and
yeah,
looking at life differently. I've always said I feel like having two children in heaven. I feel like they've given me a superpower that's not on this earth. I feel like they give me something that connects me that little bit deeper, and I
yeah,
could never explain it more than that. I would never even look into it more than that, but I just feel that my life has massively changed. And exactly like you said, my concept on things, the way I look at things, the way I notice the beauty around me, and that's what my book's about. But it's true. I just have a
yeah,
completely different outlook on life. And, we can. Yes, there's days where you sit in the grief and, it's painful and you don't want to find positives and you shouldn't
exactly.
have to find positives. Sometimes it was awful and this isn't right. But then with the world moving the way it is, unfortunately, sometimes we have to step out of that and we realize, okay, maybe we didn't get things the way that we imagined them, but this is what we have.
Yeah,
And that love's still there. I'm still that child's mother. That child still loved me. And that love doesn't disappear. However you look at it, whether you're spiritual or you're not, that love does not disappear. And that's what carries me through. And I
yeah.
think it always will.
Oh, it's so what you say about this give those children give those two give you so much power. I feel the same. They
Hmm.
are my powerhouse. They just keep me pushing forward and going into the world. And that's why I also started the podcast to let people experience that it doesn't matter where you come from, where on earth in you are from the UK, I'm from the Netherlands, but if people in India or in Australia, New Zealand, whatever, America, people who are dealing with baby loss, we all have the same feelings, and the love for our children never goes away.
No, I think this is a thing that is really important that is spoken about. Is I think when you're in the early stages of grief, that thought of, going about your day, doing your grocery shopping, coming home, cooking dinner, and realizing that you've not felt sadness in that day. I think in the early stages, you can feel so guilty for that, and you feel like life's moving on without them. And it is really hard to process that feeling because you want to get better. You don't want to stay in bed crying all the time. But when you do start feeling
Oh,
better, you feel awful for it.
that I had that feeling when Tom and Tim passed away, and I really was smiling. The first time I was smiling, I felt so awful.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
thought, oh, am I not grieving anymore? Is the pain gone?
Hmm.
And then I felt so horrible. But then I started talking with my children. They said, "Mom, I really want you to feel better. Don't feel sorry. Don't feel guilty. This is what it's meant to be." And yeah, but I that feeling it was horrible. Did you also experience that? You felt,
Absolutely.
oh,
And I experienced it quite a few times throughout the years. First, it would be like, the first day you're not
Yeah,
crying. And
yeah,
then it's like 3 months, you realize, oh, I haven't cried in 3 months. And I think you do experience it throughout, which again, like things like this podcast and sharing our stories, I think for parents who are going through that grief process to know it's okay. It's
yeah,
okay. You could have a really busy week at work or, doing this and that. That's okay. Your time will come back around where you'll sit back and take a minute out with your babies, however that looks for you, because everybody's different. Some
yeah.
people just feel it here. Some people, write a letter, sit at the cemetery, however it looks, that time will come back around. There's no time limit on when you should connect with your children, how you should connect with your children, or how you keep their memory alive. Everybody's different, but we're all doing the same journey in our own form. And I think, to hear maybe mine and your story, for somebody who's still at that stage of grief where they are feeling guilty, for
Exactly.
me, it would have really reassured me to hear this from
Yeah,
somebody else,
yeah.
to know that it's actually okay, because it is.
Yeah, and that's what is the strength of the power of this podcast is that you hear women
Mhm.
all around the world talking about the loss of their babies, and you don't feel, oh, I'm not the only one who has to deal with this,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
because we don't have to go through back to the pain. We know it causes a lot of pain, it gives a lot of pain, but it also, the more pain it does, the deeper the love is.
Oh, yeah,
If you don't
100%.
love your child, and you're, well, then you don't have to suffer. Then you don't feel so much grief or
Well, you
suffer,
can't
and
you can't feel pain if there was no love there. So that just
exactly.
sums it up. And it's the same with grief, isn't it? You can't grieve for something that you didn't love. You can't grieve for somebody you didn't love. So our love's just the strongest. So we're gonna have the hardest journey with it, but we get there. And that's the important thing. And the reasons why we get there is because we have our babies around us.
Yeah, they
So
are. They are, but so in a different way that we ever wanted and or hoped for. But they
mhm,
are here, and
mhm.
it's also when I see you smile, and I'll smile as well. Because if I want talking about our children, our star children, it's the best there is. But unfortunately, there is an environment around us, colleagues, neighbors, friends, whatever, who are not in our inner circle. Uh, they make it difficult for us to keep going.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think, it's amazing that we are raising awareness. And I think to have grieving parents listen to these podcasts and, hear people's stories is incredible. But I do also think it's really important for it to be expanded bigger than that. Because I think, having friends and families who took time out to read forums and
Yeah.
look into other people's stories to know how to support me,
Yeah.
that's why I am where I am. Because my friends and family allowed me a space to grieve in the way that I needed to. They allowed me to speak openly. They speak about my children just as much as I do. And for me, and I know I'm extremely lucky to have that, because they allowed my journey to be, I wouldn't say easier, but they allowed my journey to be the way that I needed it to be. So
Yeah.
I think, even if you haven't experienced that loss, and even if you don't know anybody who has, it's so important to have that awareness, because we know that the statistics are really high. And, people in work or friends, like you said, colleagues, somebody may have experienced this. And for you to just have a little bit of awareness of how you can communicate about that can help somebody in ways that you couldn't even put into words.
Exactly. And also colleagues. And well, we also were talking about taboo. If people don't talk about it, they don't know.
Mm,
If you are in the meeting room and you ask who has dealt with baby loss, I don't think many fingers will rise, because people don't know each other, don't know it
mm.
from one another. But if we can make that there's awareness about baby loss, and that people feel free to raise their hands, I've dealt with it, and oh, oh, you as well, and then that will help as well. And then
Well,
you get this getting together, and you can at the coffee corner, you have a cup of coffee, you say, oh, well, tell me, what's the name of your child or what is your story? And
Yeah,
it doesn't have to be long. It doesn't have to be sad. Just a light story. Well, oh, your son is, my son is called Tom and Tim, and my baby miscarriage daughter is Jasmine. And yours? Oh, really? Oh, and how old would he be? And just
yeah,
just that's actually any well, the only thing what is necessary.
absolutely. I think I was quite lucky in recently when I brought out the book. I work in a hospice, so I work along many women, incredible women. And when I finished my first copy of the book, I took it into work with me, and it was heartbreaking, but also so comforting that every woman who I showed the book either knew of somebody who had experienced loss, them themselves, or even a friend of a friend of a friend. But every single person who read the book, and I mean, my book's a children's book, and these
Mm,
are adult women, every single woman who read the book, one cried, who then opened up and we had a 15-20 minute chat about, an angel baby or a story of a loved one. And it's heartbreaking that that's the case, but it was also so beautiful to have these conversations. And, just because of a book that was between us, it unlocked conversations with people who I'd never known this. Also, myself, no one was aware of my situation
yeah,
because I'm quite new at the job. So obviously, they weren't part of my life
yeah,
at the time. But it was beautiful to be able to talk about my babies and, tell them all and tell them our story
exactly.
and to have that conversation flowing. And also for them, a lot of people had said to me after speaking to me, oh, I sent my friend a message or I checked in on my friend because I think in that conversation it normalized that we
Yeah,
can communicate. And you see
exactly.
that sort of guilt of, oh, I've sort of stayed away from that conversation. And then they've felt, oh, actually, maybe I should ask how they're feeling and, talk a little bit more. So it was really powerful to see actually just that conversation starter that everybody felt comfortable in the conversation really quickly, but everybody's so scared to go into it.
Yeah.
Once you do, it's okay.
Well, like you and me, we don't know each other just before we started this conversation, and we had this chemistry call, and we get the moment I was a little bit nervous because of I'm not native English. You are a little bit nervous because well, you don't me, and what are we going to talk about? But
Yeah.
the minute we started talking about our children, our star children, it was gone, and we were
That's
just constantly. So it that gives for me that's proven this is the way to get the taboo about baby loss out of the world.
no, I agree. I agree.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, we even gave each other goosebumps. So
Yeah, several times.
no, but it's true. I think when you're talking about your loved ones, the conversation's going to be passionate and it's going to be a beautiful conversation, even if that means emotions and pain within it. It doesn't mean it's not still beautiful conversation. So,
Yeah, what does it matter if somebody starts to cry?
mhm,
Well, we can give some advice. What should you advise if you are some blunt people who don't know anything about baby loss and well they are brave and they ask you, oh, Katie, so what's your story? And you start to cry because you have a bad day or it's just memorized. I can cry if somebody says, oh you lost your baby, so you will never be a grandmother. That really hurt me. So I started to cry, but my friend said, oh yeah. Well, and then we had a conversation about that. So, what was your suggestion, Katie, if somebody is starting to cry when they're telling their story? What should you do if you have never have to deal with this or you don't know what to do? What is helpful?
to be honest, I think just to listen. I think just to listen. If you're asked a question or you know the babies are brought up and it catches you off guard and you just sometimes them emotions just hit. I think yeah, just listen. Just
Yeah,
let the the grieving parent feel what they want to feel. It's important to cry. It's important to feel them emotions and giving somebody a safe space to have that opportunity. That's
exactly.
okay.
Yeah. So, actually, only listen.
Mhm.
And don't wave it away. Oh, stop crying, stop crying. No, let them cry because they won't cry a long time. And even though they will, what does it matter?
No, definitely. And I think, people's idea of reassurance is often not what's needed. For example, you can go on to have another baby, or, I mean, there's been quite a
Oh,
few.
oh, they haven't suffered. Oh, luckily they haven't suffered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in my situation, and I know I'm extremely grateful for my children, but in my situation, oh, but you've got two children. And I think, no matter how you try and play around on these words or come across reassuring, it isn't. Don't say it.
Mm.
It's as simple as that.
Yeah. Well, and if you are not, in my case, I don't have children to look after, but I really feel a mom of three. Don't say like, don't mention things which are really painful. Just think twice when you say something.
Of course, yeah. I think, also every I was going to say grieving mother, but every grieving parent, we all are at different parts of our journey. We all feel differently. So something that may be comforting to one person,
Yeah.
somebody might be trying for another baby and might want to hear that they're going to have another baby. Whereas, somebody else doesn't want to have other children and wants to keep what they have. And I think everybody's in such different places that there isn't really there's not a one fits all. So I think opinion wise, advice wise, just avoid it, just be there, just listen and flow with the conversation of what the person's giving you. If
Yeah.
somebody's feeling sad, let them feel sad. Let them, remember the sadness and feel that, because sometimes you need to. Other times you don't want to remember what you've been through. You want to think of the now. So let them be in the now. I think there's not this will make somebody better. It is just hearing, listening, and following lead to what they need at the time.
Exactly, but that's about grief. There is no handbook about grief or
Right.
a timeline or whatever, and because your entrance point was different than mine, and your age was different, and you already had two children.
Hmm. Hmm.
So yeah, correct, is it?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So so you have four children, but you have two to look after, and I have three children who are not here. So and yesterday I spoke to Lisa. She has 11 children, but they're all 11 are star children. So that's also a different story, and that doesn't matter as long as you are pay respect to everybody because every person has their own way of dealing with it, their own grief. You can go through your grief within, for instance, for example, 5 years. Maybe I did it in 10 years, so it doesn't have a timeline,
No,
and that makes it difficult for people how to react. But the only thing they have to do is listen and be nice.
absolutely. Absolutely. As you say, every single person's situation and story will be different. Yeah. So you don't need to understand it. You don't need to try and make sense of it. You
Mm.
just need to be present in the now and, give that safe space. That's all you can do.
Be nice, be gentle, be loving, and mention the name of the children if the babies have a name. What would you suggest to people if they have had a miscarriage? I felt intuitive that it was a daughter, so I gave her the name Yasmijn. It makes it more tangible. So
Absolutely. In its
yeah,
beautiful way.
so you should do the same. If you had a miscarriage, you would
Um, I, I,
intuitive.
I, I find it a little bit difficult in the sense of like giving advice on things, because I've always been a very, you know, I'm very open person, and I know some people aren't. And I think for me, when we lost Noah, I had recently seen on Facebook a few months prior, completely off topic, but somebody had lost somebody they loved, and it was about taking photos. And when we lost Noah, it was all that went through my head. You need to, no matter how you're feeling, you need to take photos and be brave, because you're going to want them later on. And it's the best decision that I ever made, and having that means the world to me.
Yeah.
But I also know that, some people, if I was to say to somebody, if they were having a miscarriage or they were going through something beforehand, I would, it's difficult because I know some people wouldn't be able to or not necessarily want to. So I think overall, I would say if you can find that courage and that strength within you, a name is absolutely everything, because
Yeah,
that name is what lives on. Of
exactly.
course, it's your child, but the name is what allows you to to share that child with everybody. So yes, I'd say definitely name is probably the most, choosing Noah and Evia's name was by far the most important part of my journey with them.
Exactly.
Um, and if you are in a position to be able to, photos and to just give yourself a memory, we unfortunately, as grieving mums with stillborn children, we have our memories taken away from us before they even begin. So the small ones you can create, no matter what it is, do it.
Yeah,
And that's what I would say on it. And it may be very painful at the beginning. It may be painful to do. It may be painful to look at. But fast forward 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line, you're going to wish that you had that.
yeah.
So
Well, after all these years, I was very ill, and I was like a Michelin woman, 3 times the size as I am now, and because of all the fluid my body was covering,
yeah,
and uh, they said, "Well, we're going to take pictures." Oh, no, 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 I'm not looking well, but that they did. And
yeah,
after all these years, 18 and 19 years, Tom and Tim are still on the bookshelf on my next to my bed. And every morning I wake up, the first thing I see is them. And when I go fall asleep, the last thing I see when I turn off the light is them. And that
yeah,
is such a remarkable, loving memory, and that makes it tangible. That is the only that to see them. It's amazing.
yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
And I think it's beautiful that you've just said that as well, because I think if somebody is going through that grief process the early stages,
Yeah,
I know myself, sometimes the photos are a bit too painful to look at. And you don't want to go back to that place. But hearing you say that's beautiful, because that does show our journey, and you do come to that place where you can, and this is the whole point. One day you will look at your baby's photo and just feel love. And yes, the pain's still there, but it comes across in different ways. You will be able to look at that photo and think of just the love that you share with that child. And you don't
exactly,
think of the space between you or anything like that. And the same with hearing their names. So it is really lovely to hear you say that, because I think that is the point of the sort of grief and journey, that eventually you will be in that place where you do feel just love. And it doesn't mean any of the other stuff's gone away, because it hasn't, but it's not what controls you anymore. I think that's the important. Like
exactly.
for me, the love of my children controls me. The love I have for them controls me.
Yeah,
The pain and the grief, it comes out in ways, it comes out at certain times, but it doesn't control me anymore. And I think that's the difference of what stage of my journey I'm at.
yeah. And the love gives you the power to continue with your life.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much for this beautiful talk, Katie. And I'm pretty sure we will have another podcast in the near future.
Absolutely. I would love to.
Thank you very much.
No, thank you. Take care of yourself.